Hello, everyone. Hi, Shanti.
Hi, Ella in Florida.
Are you back in
This is
Florida
Shanti
now?
in Florida.
Yay! How did you like Mexico?
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
I wish
And I
could.
had a day in Tlaquepaque the day after the event. And it was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, I know. It's so beautiful there.
Yeah.
I wish I could
People.
go.
It was a little culture shock coming back to the US.
Yeah.
People were kind of glum, grumpy.
Yeah.
Who else?
I'm so glad that you got to make that trip, though.
Who else was in Guadalajara? Come on.
Hi, Janet.
And Sandra directed me to La Villa del Ensueño. It was a beautiful place. Really nice.
Oh. Lama Tim might be waiting for us to chat so he can come on.
Okay. Hi, Laura.
Hi, so nice to see you again.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Kathy.
I'm trying to find old classmates. Where did she go? I saw Marina, and now she's off my screen. Oh, there you are. Hi, Marina. Hey, Francisco, I know you're there.
Hello, everyone. I will try to call to Timla, but no answer. Sorry.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, and Alexander.
Hi, tiny little one.
So many people have their cameras off. You know, when Tim comes, he's going to love to see you.
Shanti, how was Tlaquepaque?
Oh my God. It was so beautiful. It was so nice. Thank you for suggesting that I just hang out there. You know, it was so weird coming out of retreat and then I'm alone in a country, you know, I speak Spanish, so that's good, but like just walking in the hot sun all day, my internet didn't work. It was like, wow. But it was like a good practice, you know. It really was. Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really, really nice.
Morning.
Hello, team.
Good morning.
Good morning. No, okay. All right. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. All right. So today's class, we're going to pick up where we left off at the end, which is kind of a side topic. And if you didn't come to last class, then watch it. We went over, we had a couple things we talked about. First of all, we talked about the, what is it like in the in-between, right? We talked about, we used the example of transitions in our own life, right? Where we talked about, what happens when between Dharma events, right? Like a Dharma event, because that's just what had ended. And our real life. Or when a relationship ends. Or when there's any kind of transition. Like there's this space of, there could be a space of uncertainty, a space of not sure what's going on. And that was sort of a metaphor for what is it, what is it like in between lives? Like what happens according to the Abhidharma when you do die? Hi, Chloe, you're late. Of course, I just started 1 minute ago. So what happens in between, right? The sort of state in between where you take a sort of, it's like almost a rebirth. I kind of like to think of it as, it's not this, right? It's not this, but, like at the point of conception, like you're just a cell, right? You're just the merging of the sperm and the egg together. And that then becomes, like there's this waiting period, right? For humans, it's 9 months. Thank you. It's kind of this waiting period before you come out of the womb. And then when you're born, right? It's like now your life started. And you're kind of looking like the cells in your body start looking like a human, but you're not quite fully formed yet, maybe, right? So, we could say that a Bardo being is kind of like that, but that's not exactly how it is, because the point of conception is when the Bardo being enters into the cells at conception. Okay. But if you use that as a metaphor, it might help to understand, like once you moved into the Bardo, you're already mainly already thrown into that next life. You're already in the shape, form, type of being that you will become, I guess. And you guys asked some really fun questions. Things I never even thought about in the last class. What about an instance, because basically the Bardo being's attracted to the sexual relations of the parents, right? So you ask different kinds of questions around that as well, right? Keep in mind, this is all Abhidharma, okay? Right? Are there cells out there, a sperm and an egg, that meet by themselves, right? Like this description sounds very like, oh, there's two people, having sex, and then, ooh, the Bardo being is like, ooh, that's interesting, comes on over. Those two cells meet, the sperm and the egg, and then the Bardo being goes into it. What does that sound like? Well, first of all, it seems like there's a Bardo being out there by itself, right? It also seems like kind of like the soul description that you might find in other religions, right? Where there's this being that gets shoved into your body, right? That somehow your soul comes from somewhere and then gets pushed into your body. I'm not saying they're not Bardo beings, and I'm not saying that it doesn't kind of function that way. But we have to think of it more along the lines of perception, right? And without going too deep into that, I mean, I think it's also really helpful. And you have to think about, I'm not going to tell you why it's helpful. You have to think about it. You have to think about, like, what's the value of this understanding? How does this understanding of death in between a rebirth help? How does it help you? How does it help others at the time of death, at the time of grieving? Okay. So that's for you to figure out. You know, that's for you to figure out why this is the way it is. Why do we talk about this way? All right, and since the class was so short, I went on a side trip. And we went on a side trip and we talked about what happens at the time of death in the dissolution of your body, right? Your body begins to die, and what are the various standard processes that happen in the body? What are the standard experiences that one goes through at the time of death? And we talked about the dissolution of the four elements in a particular order. What is that order? Did you memorize this? Did you review it? Everyone's like, no, I didn't, Tim. It's only been 2 days.
So earth, water, fire, and one more,
Wind.
wind.
And for $50, the Tibetan, spelled correctly.
Statue Melong.
Well, there you go. Now you got to spell it. Put it in the chat. Who was that?
Janet, but I don't know how to spell it.
All right, so you get $25. All right, and then Katie, you get another 25. Good job. All right, cool. So the elements break down in that order. They break down the first, the earth, the solidity, then the wet and flowing is how they define water, right? Then the source of heat, and then the source of movement, I guess, wind. Okay. And then we went through the visualizations as a description. And today we're going to do them as a meditation. And this is a meditation that you can do and you should do frequently and get used to it, become accustomed to it. It becomes very important in the second 18 courses. So you still have to, we're only on 8. Okay, we have 10 more to go. And then there's 18 more. Okay, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to study. But each step builds upon itself. You're all thinking, oh my God, this is like 14 years of my life. Yes. Yes. To get through all of it is many, many years. But that's what practice is. It's just consistent practice. Right. Okay. All right. We're going to do that meditation now. Well, you certainly don't seem that old, Shanti. So. All right. So get yourself in a comfortable position. And before I keep moving, is the sound okay? Like, do you guys hear any background noise? Or does it just sound like me talking? Okay, good. Zoom is awesome. Because it's so dang hot that I have an air conditioner back there. All right. All right. Turn off your phones. Turn off notifications on your computer. Okay. Yeah, Tracy, it's going to be 43 degrees today. Thank God we're not in the valley in Phoenix. It's supposed to be like 48. All right. All right. So close your eyes. Or just soften your gaze. And come to the sensations of your breath. Feel the exhalations and the inhalations. And see yourself way in the future. Laying on your bed. Possibly on your right side. And you're surrounded by those you love. You know it's now time for you to transition. Your life is now, this life is coming to a stop. You're calm. You're relaxed. And then you confess one thing that you've done in your life that you have not confessed yet. One thing that you did that you're not proud of. And then you start thinking about one thing that brings you the most joy. Some kindness that you did for somebody else. And then you look around the room one last time at all those people you love. And you softly close your eyes. And you begin to feel the outside world getting very quiet. And then you feel shaking a little bit at first, like the ground beneath you is shaking, vibrating. And then you see around you a rocky mountain. The ground is shaking. It begins to shake more. A big earthquake is happening. And pieces of those mountains, like big boulders, start falling down. And you start running away from them. And around you, you see the ground open up like cracks, fissures in the ground. You're running from this, yet you still remain calm and aware. And as this shaking stops, you begin to hear what sounds like rushing water. And like a tsunami coming onto the land, you're swept up into the water. The water covers you. A great, massive flood pushes you along. You have no control of where you're going. Surrounded by torrents of water. Again, you remain calm and aware. And eventually the water dissipates. And you find yourself on the ground. The water dries up. The sun is blazing. The ground is crackling hot. It gets warmer and warmer, surrounded by fire. Everything is burning. Yet you remain calm and aware. And as the fire burns out, the wind starts to blow. Begins to blow harder and harder, and you get swept up into it. Being spun around like you're in a tornado. Surrounded by swirling winds, howling of the wind. And you remain calm and aware. And the winds eventually die down. And everything becomes very quiet. And you look off into the distance. Quiet, barren land. And off in the distance, you see a mirage. And you begin moving towards it. Calm and aware. And then you become surrounded by a soft mist, like a fog. Wispy smoke. And then you begin to see little lights, almost like fireflies. Just little sparks surrounding you. and you're calm and aware. And all that fades away. And off in the distance, there's just a small light. Your awareness moves towards it. And it's a perfectly still candle flame. Just a light. No movement. And you're calm and aware. And as that light fades, you are surrounded by soft white moonlight in all directions. Just the soft, pale moonlight of a full moon. No light source, just surrounded by it. And that light fades into a ruby crimson light. Surrounded by that light, you remain calm and aware. And then that red light fades away. And fades into blackness. All there is that blackness. And you're calm and aware. And that blackness now fades too. And your awareness is crystalline diamond, perfect, crystalline, clear diamond. You are nothing yet. And a feeling comes to you. And that feeling is, I am that. And now return to your breath. Notice the sensations of your breath in your body. And take 3 long exhales. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Mhm. All right, so get familiar with that meditation. Practice it. Because if you can maintain that awareness, through each of those stages at the time of death. It's possible that last part where you are crystalline diamond and you're nothing yet. Right. It's possible that you could see emptiness directly in that moment. And then do some cool stuff with it. The process happens regardless of how you die. Okay. Now, how you go through it is kind of up to you. In this sense of, can you maintain awareness, right? Can you not get wrapped up into the fear of it? Would you just lose the awareness in some part of that? Because as you move through each of those steps, the mind becomes subtler and subtler. The connection between the mind and the body is severed. Right? And most of the time, we just lose awareness. You just lose it. You're just like, bah, right? The mind stops paying attention, right? Because it's not an easy thing to go through. So if you can maintain it, if your meditation is good enough, you need to have a type of shamatha to do it. You have to be able to meditate. Okay. This is what it means to get prepared for death, amongst all the other things. So the best thing we can do for ourselves is to practice this. For those that haven't practiced, it's kind of too late in the last moment. They give this teaching 2 minutes before someone dies and expect them to go through it. It's kind of too late. That's why we started off with confession. The best you can do at the time of death mostly is to confess all your bad deeds and rejoice in the good ones. Because if you can purify the bad ones, that they may not ripen. Once you move into the clear light, the next thing that happens is the next seeds start coming out. Okay. What seeds come out? I don't know. Put every single deed you've done in billions and billions of lifetimes and put them in a ball. Shake the ball. Reach in and grab one. And there's your next life, folks. Okay. Right? It's kind of scary if you think about it. It also kind of can be inspiring, right? If the only thing you do in this life is good deeds, so you have a good chance of winning the lottery, it's not a bad life. Okay. It's not a bad life at all. I mean, you're doing good things for other people. You're planting good seeds. I don't know why everyone wants to be reborn as my cat. This is hysterical. Anyway, so that's not a bad life, right? It's not bad to protect yourself against a bad rebirth, right? By doing good deeds. If that's the only motivation, and you rejoice in them, then those seeds grow. And then there's like, it's like when we do a raffle for a ring, right? Those seeds grow exponentially. You give $10, you get one raffle ticket. You give $100, you get 1,000 raffle tickets, right? It's exponential. So if there's nothing else, if there's no other reason to do good deeds, okay. If there were no other reason to do good deeds, this is the main reason, right? What do you want in your lottery ball? Right. Of course, there's many other reasons too, right? And that's why we talk about bodhicitta and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Julia, at some point we'll talk about it later. There's 4 priorities of seeds. What seeds will ripen first? And there is a priority on that. So there are things that we can do to push certain seeds to the front of the line. So it's sort of like, if you're at the airport and there's a huge delay and you can't figure out what's going on, maybe the president's airplane is there. Get it? And the president could go to the front of the line. You all have to wait for that airplane to go around, right? You want presidential seats, okay? So you don't have to wait to take off, right? And we'll talk about that later. But that's a good question. All right. Highly suggest practicing that meditation. All right, so in class, I think it's Lamrim 23, actually. Oh, no, 35 is the 4 priorities. Okay, so we're in class, what number? 6. There's a whole long discussion in the reading, and you can do it. I'm not going to go through all the details. You can read it yourself. It's basically a long description of how the world starts. Okay. How does the world start? Like, what's the story? Like, what's the, I don't know, story's not the right word, but the cosmology of it, right? In the beginning, right? In the beginning, how did it get started? And it reads a little bit like science fiction. And it has some elements that are really neat in it. So, and it goes on, it talks at length about how the different parts of the world come together, how large they are, all the things that they do. How does the world become the world? They mentioned floods. It sounds like Noah's Ark from the Christian tradition. And it's really fascinating read. And a lot of people have said, well, Tim, this is dumb. Because it starts off, here's how the world starts, right? There's nothing. Okay, just empty space. Okay. So imagine empty space. There's nothing in it. And for some reason, okay, for some reason, a gentle wind begins to blow. All right. And the wind starts to, I don't know, circulate together. Okay. And as it circulates, it becomes stronger and stronger, faster and faster. Okay. So it's until eventually, imagine a disc, right? You know, like a disc of wind that's circulating so fast, right? That you couldn't even crack it. Like you couldn't even put anything through it, right? It almost becomes solid. Like just imagine wind moving that much. Hold on just a second, I had an idea. Hold on just one second. I think I just went. Right, and they say it's like 7 million miles thick, very long, wide, or something like that. No, I'm sorry. It's 7 million miles thick and countless miles wide. Okay, the universe, something like that. Okay. And then it turns, and then it turns into some solid gold, and that has some kind of depth. And then a rain falls onto the disk of wind. And then they say, okay, so now all this water is on top of it. How does the water stay on it? They say because the disk is moving so fast, the water can't fall off. Okay. So the water spins, and then the water spins so much that some of it becomes solid. Just making sure I have this right. And then some more rain falls, okay? Then it forms an outer ocean on top of the gold. And then there's more wind that goes, and the wind raises up more, kind of solidifies the elements, and then the mountains form. Okay, okay. Yes, it says gold. Right, you can do it in the reading. And then a central mountain comes up. The Mount Supreme, Mount Meru, comes up in the center. And then there's 7 discs of mountains, like circles and mountains. You got the center one and 7 discs of mountains. There's oceans in between. And on the edge, there's another ring of mountains. Okay. And ta-da, we have the world. Okay. And on that disc, there's 4 continents that come off the main mountain. And the southern continent, called Jambu, is the one that we live on. Okay. So that's, in 3 minutes, that's the formation of the world. Okay. And you probably are thinking that sounds crazy, right? Oh, Tim, their world is flat, our world is round. Well, that's nice. Well, how long do we think our world was flat? right? At some point, they discovered it was round. Okay. Well, when was this book written? When was the Abhidharma Kosha written, folks? Right? A long time ago. But if you think about it, here's how I think about it. Sure, it seems a little weird, right? But I don't think it's that far off. What happens first? Now, the most important thing is for me is like kind of the order, right? What happens first? The wind blows, right? Doesn't say anything about fire, but maybe later it's something like the wind blows, the fire blazes, right? Then what happened next? Water, right? There's some water. And then from the water comes mountains, earth. Does anyone want to put it together?
Yeah, creation is, the opposite of dissolution, the other side of it.
Sounds pretty good.
Reverse.
Sounds pretty good to me. Okay. Right, the opposite of the dissolution. So just put that in the back of your mind. Just put that in the back of your mind. Okay. Okay. All right. Things you need to know about this world. As I said, there's a center mountain, Mount Meru, surrounded by 7 concentric rings of mountains. And on the edge of the world is one called the encircling range. That's nice. And just for information, because it's the 5th question of the homework, this is the shortest homework ever. There are 3 oceans that consist of 7 seas. Okay. That kind of exist between the concentric mountains that surround Mount Meru and the greatest outer ocean. Okay, so just kind of imagine, I mean, the easiest way to imagine is there's all these mountains and then there's water between them. Okay, there's little details to that you can read about and get in your homework. The concentric mountain ranges are made of gold. The outermost one is made of iron. As I said, the outer one is called encircling. And the most innermost sea is called the inner ocean. Okay, there's homework question number 5. If there's an artist out there who wants to draw this, I'm sure you could find pictures on the internet too of this. Let's have a look. Meru and the 7 seas. Let's see. Maybe it is. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. Oh, that's cool. Huh. All right. All right, we'll do that at the end. All right, cool. So yeah, you can do the reading. You can do it. If you want to draw pictures, someone just privately asked me if someone would do a virtual reality version of the death meditation, and the answer is yes, it exists. But I want you guys to do it first. I want you to do the visualizations first yourself. Why? It's personal. It's a personal experience, right? And when you get to the more advanced courses of the ACI, you start learning more about the meaning of those elements, how those elements are in your body. And if you want a preview of how to do that without, quote, doing it, but you're doing it, maybe go to YSI, the Yoga Studies Institute. Because a lot of that is there, even if you don't know it's there. Okay. And there's a course, I don't know if it's available yet to the, Connie and I did a course on the 4 elements and how to recognize and feel and experience each of the elements in your own body, and then the seeds related to each of them. Okay. So when we get a little bit more foundation in ACI, then we start learning more about that. Okay. So you start learning more about how to experience them. What is the experience of earth in your body? What is the experience of water, wet and flowing in your body, in your experience? What is the experience of fire? What is the experience of, which is heat, right? Or cold, or wind, right? All of those things. How do they combine in your body? There's whole fields of medicine dedicated to the 4 elements in the body, right? Ayurveda does that. The Tibetan medicine does that. Chinese medicine does it. It's all, they're just slightly different systems. Right. The balance of the balance of the elements in your body, or imbalance, cause certain kinds of experiences. Okay. So you can work on it from an outer method, like, oh, here's some herbs, here's nutrition, here's, like acupuncture and all those things, right? You can work on it outside. You can also work on it inside from a meditation point of view. You can also work at it from a level of seeds. Well, that's what it is anyway. Okay. So, so if you're someone who's always cold, right? They would say in those systems that there's a fire challenge, a fire issue, or maybe you have too much wind or too much water, right? And then you can work to balance those out, and then you won't have cold problems. Or maybe you're someone like me who's always too hot. What happens when you're too hot? Irritation, anger, right? Right. But you learn how to manage those things. And the more awareness you have of them, the more you can start feeling when you start going slightly out of balance, so you can get back in balance. You see. But the reason when you start working with the dissolution in a more in a more advanced way, you can start having experiences where you're not dying, but you experience the dissolution of the element. Okay. Because sure, you could wait to the time of death. Or you could do it in this lifetime. Okay. And so you can have experiences where the elements in a certain way, in a pranic way, dissolve in your body. And so part of the reason I wouldn't want to give you, like practicing dying, yes, Shantu. And one of the reasons I wouldn't want to give you of someone else's visualization is because when you have the experience, it'll be unique to you. Right? Part of it, in my view, is that the words point to something, but the words aren't it. Right? The words point to an experience, but the words aren't the experience. But when you have the experience, you go, oh, that's why the words are the words. Somebody tried to write the words to describe the experience. And we live in a very visual world, right? There's a primacy, is that a word? It's a primary facet of how we interact. Even right now, look, here's some squares. I have to apologize in advance that if I ever meet you in person and I don't recognize you, it's not because it's because you are a square on my screen. And I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to someone who thought I should recognize them. And I did eventually in Mexico. All right. I'm sorry. But all of you are just little tiny squares. And when you meet someone in real life, like you're getting the whole energy of the person. Right. So I just apologize in advance. I kind of get close sometimes to look. But I have this secondary problem. Then the secondary problem is that I need reading glasses. So I'm sorry. Life sucks. So anyhow, yeah, so you can, when you have those experiences or tastes of those experiences, you can see what the words are pointing towards. So in my humble opinion, and this is my humble opinion, not necessarily truth, and there could be different ways of doing it. I think that seeing a video of someone else's point of view could potentially color and shape or block an experience. Okay, I'm kind of into artwork that is different, like, than what is what's traditional. Like, you've probably seen these traditional tankas of Buddhist deities, right? Here's Tara, here's Manjushri, here's Maitreya, here's Vajrayogini, right? I bought one. Can I show that to you? Yes, hold on a second. Hold on, hold on a second. Sorry. All right. So I bought in Mexico at the overseas study table that we're sending people to study the ancient languages. I bought myself let's see if you guys can see it, right? You're gonna get some reflection, but right. Here's Naropa hanging out. Okay. And then up at the top, here's Vajrayogini, okay? Appearing as white and white, all right? Why do I like this so much? One is because Vajrayogini is not red, okay? The other reason I like this painting is here's Naropa. And all Naropa needs to do is look up. Look, he's looking down. You see? If Naropa just looked up and got out of his, it's almost like if he looked up, he would see. Like he would see something really cool. You know. So why do I say that? You know, because enlightened beings can appear in many, many ways, right? And there's certain ways that we attempt to visualize them for certain reasons. But we shouldn't get attached to the form. The form will appear based on your own seeds. Okay. Wow, we did not expect this in today's class. Just like the pen and the chew toy. You know. So that was a long side note from Shanti's question about, is there someone who made a visualization? When you experience them, then draw a picture. Okay? Maybe you'll draw something like this. Maybe that's you. And then maybe you'll see her. Oop, she's over there. Okay. All right. Now that the world's been created, right? The wind blows, the fire blazes, the water shows up, the rains come, the mountains show up. We're on the South Continent. Okay. Please read the reading. It's fun. I found it fun. Now we're all a bunch of humans living on the South Continent, having a good time, living out our samsaric life. Okay. Okay. What is it about? What sustains that life according to the Abhidharma? That's the question. What are the four? There are 4 types of sustenance that maintains our life. Okay. We know that the answer is not this generally. Specifically, we know that it comes from seeds. But there's 4 main things that keep us going. All right. Which also incidentally help us to perpetuate this suffering life. Okay. So the first thing that keeps us going, cherries. Okay. Food. All right. Cherries and tater tots. That's what just happened to be next to me right now. Okay. Cherries and tater tots. My cats are eating their breakfast. Kibble. Probably made of fish. Okay. Actually, the hardest part about getting cats was that cats need to eat meat, and I'm a vegetarian, right? Some people have asked, even some people ask me about, their challenges with being vegetarian during the retreat. We should have a class on that because there are different ways to think about it. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Let me finish the class today. Solid food, right? Things that we eat, right? Things that nourish us. Solid food, they say. Another thing that nourishes us, they say, is, let me make sure I have this right. Is like it's contact with things that create pleasure. Okay. Things that you enjoy are a kind of sustenance. And you should think about this a little bit. Like, we're just talking Abhidharma, but we're also like, just think about yourself. Like, don't think about seeds. I mean, think about seeds, but in this way, think about it like, when you're enjoying yourself, you're more nourished. When you're not enjoying yourself, you're not nourished, right? Like, when you're not enjoying yourself, like, you get depressed, or your body hurts, or you get unhappy, or you become unmotivated. You see these things. You can see it in people. Like, you can see it like people that aren't enjoying themselves also have physical signs of not being healthy, right? Depression kills, literally. Okay. So there's one of the things that the Buddhist texts say. 21st century psychology, written in 350 AD. Okay. Keep in mind that these are all, they use the word stained. Okay. Sakche. But I'll explain that in a second. Each of these is stained in some way. The movement of your own mind can be a kind of nourishment. Okay. Like hope. Hope can be a very, very powerful manifestation of the mind that can keep you alive. There's some interesting examples in the reading. I was thinking about like, there's a story of this in the mid 1960s. A guy had cancer. Okay. And he started taking a new cancer drug that came out, and his tumors went away. And then the Drug Administration of the United States decided that the drug was useless. It didn't help people. So he heard the news, lost hope, and then his tumors came back. Okay. And then the same drug company came out with a new cancer drug. He took that, his tumors went away. And then they removed the drug because it was deemed unsafe. Okay. Then his tumors came back and he died. Okay. So from the Abhidharma perspective, we would call this, there's a power in the mind of hope, right? If you're dehydrated and dying of thirst, and you're in the middle of the desert, and you're 30 feet away from a water source, nobody's going to die in those 30 feet. Okay. You will get to the water, right? But if you didn't see the water in those 30 feet, you probably would die pretty quickly. You see? Like there's a big power that the mind has over sustaining life. My grandfather, I told you guys a story. My grandfather stayed alive until all the details were done to take care of grandma. Once all the contracts were signed, the car was sold, Tim drove the car away, grandma was mad. But grandma couldn't drive. I told you guys, she was an alcoholic. She couldn't drive. But in that moment, then grandpa could die. Okay, hope, the mind. And then generally, consciousness in general can be a sustenance. Okay. And so each of those three, well, four, but specifically those three are stained, right? Sakche. They're stained in a way because they function to perpetuate suffering. And that's a really depressing note to end this class. The food you eat, the contact you make with your senses, with the outside world, the movement of your mind and your mind itself all function in a way to perpetuate suffering. Wah wah. Okay, welcome to Abhidharma land. And then they say that the root of these four types are the root of all sickness, cancer, and pain. And they bring about old age and death. Yay, that was nice. What a nice way to end class. No, but think about it. Like, and we're not really talking about this from a seed point of view. We're talking about this from an Abhidharma point of view. And from a point of view that most of us operate in. What's the first thing you do when you're sick? You go looking for the cause. Are your winds out of balance? Are your elements out of balance? Do you have the right food? Do you have enough hope in your life? Are you experiencing sadness? You know, all of these things, right? And then we start looking for support. We look for someone to connect with. Sometimes the connection with another human is enough to take away the pain, is enough to take away the illness, right? So the answer is yes, take it seriously. Take it very, very seriously. But also to think about these from a Madhyamika point of view later, to think about them from a point of view of, well, why does some food support us? Why does hope support us? Why does the movement of mind support us? Then it doesn't become suffering any longer. Right? If you understand how the seeds work, then you can understand how those things can work too. Yay, cool. The end. So our next class is August 3rd. I think it's August 3rd. Yes, August 3rd. That was a dumb day to do that. I have this really bad habit of scheduling class, like literally the day after an event ends, because I just want to shove all the classes in. So yeah, August 3rd. I'm going to be in an event leaving tomorrow, and then done on August 2nd. So we'll have class on August 3rd. So we're kind of breaking up the class. I kind of think it's nice not to have to take 10 classes in 4 weeks. We kind of get to spread them out over some time. But over the next couple weeks, please practice that meditation, right? And if it's too much or it's too long, just start on the subtle elements. Like, don't do the gross ones. Just start from the point where you're experiencing the mirage. Okay. Oh, too long to see me. Maybe I'll post something on Instagram. No, but yeah, do that meditation. Become familiar with it. And I also recommend try to, when you're going through those dissolutions, try to experience it also as a withdrawal, a withdrawing. Okay. So as you're moving, through the mirage and the smoke and the flames or little fireflies, and then into just the still light, and then the moonlight, and then the red light, and then the darkness, right? And then the clear light. Try to feel it as a withdrawing of everything, the withdrawing of appearances. Cool. Have a nice day. Happy Saturday. I'm going to the Peachtree Cafe. I'm going to have too much sugar. And turn on your microphones and say goodbye. I'm going to get some sustenance.
Bye, Tim. Thanks.
Where are you going for 2 weeks?
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bye. Feliz día.
Thank you.
Good year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
class.
much.
Thank
you.
Have a coffee for all of us. And a
Thank you.
cinnamon.
I
And a
will.
cinnamon roll. Rollo de
谢谢
canela.
老师，谢谢老师，
拜拜。
谢谢老师，拜拜。谢谢老师，拜拜。
上课，拜拜。
谢谢 Kitty 翻译。
Thank you, Tim. Bye.
所有人，谢谢所有义工，谢谢翻译。
谢谢 Tim 老师，谢谢翻译。
Safe travels.
También. Cảm ơn Tim.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao. Have a good day. Or good night. Bye.
See you.